All righty, welcome back, Daddy O. How goes it?
It goes well. Yes.
How was the weekend?
So far, so good. We've got a few hours left in it, and it's been great. Busy weekend, and yeah, it's been good. So far, so good.
Good. Glad to hear that. Um, Funny thing, me and the boys were watching the race today, and
Yeah.
the winner. I don't know if you caught that.
Hmm.
Any of the race today. The winner. They were at Dega, by the way.
Talladega, yes.
Um, he wins the race, gets to the front stretch, just over by the entrance of pit road, and he sat up out of the car and he was messing with something. Even the announcers were like, "Hey, he's got something up his sleeve. What is he trying to do?" And almost didn't make it, but he got it. He was sitting on the edge of the window opening and got it to where he started driving the car across the front stretch and was waving and like this while the car was just he was basically kind of surfing on the car, waving to the fans and whatnot. You got to look this up when we're done here.
Okay.
We might look it up here at the end if we got time
He,
for it.
I think he violated a few driving laws, didn't he?
And then he makes it just past the start finish line, makes a right, bumps into the wall, and just starts gassing it for a burnout while he's still outside the car.
Something tells me he's rehearsed this.
He's been planning it for quite some time. It was his first win, by the way.
Oh, well, that's great. That's a great victory. First
So
NASCAR level.
20,
That's great.
23 years old.
Oof.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I'm like, I'll just go to my HVAC job. Um,
What have you done lately?
well, glad to have
Good
you
for him.
back.
Yeah, sure.
It's fantastic. We had a really great episode where we kind of dove into some of the things that I've heard as arguments for sustaining the United States. We've heard things saying UBI, universal basic income, is inevitable. Like we it has to be instituted. Um, because of AI and the quote unquote lack of jobs we have, or the lack of jobs we will have because of AI. Um, we hear a lot, especially that it's it's not that we need to cut spending; it's because we're not collecting enough taxes. And we dove into that a little bit last week, and you mentioned that you really wanted to break down kind of at the root of this, which seems to be pointing at 1913. We got the Fed Reserve being born and the institution of the income tax. And you've had this discussion
Mhm.
with me in the past, but let's dive deep in this tonight. So, where do you want to start with this adventure,
Okay.
and how should we go about it?
Well, first of all, let's cut down the nonsense out and get to brass tacks. Okay, UBI is welfare.
Mhm.
It is a guaranteed income. There's nothing guaranteed. It is taking money and get from the producer and taking it to the non-producer. Okay, that is pure 100% what we would call today Marxism, communism. Okay, that's not how we're society survives. Ask yourself what society is surviving today in Marxism without the use of government force.
Right.
Okay, so let's just end that stupidity. It doesn't work. It's failed. The people who promote it are either evil because they know it doesn't work, or the useful idiot that Joseph Lenin always looked out for and used. So you pick your camp that you're in. If you're into UBI, you're either evil or useful idiot. You pick. Let's table that.
That's it. That's all we got.
That's it.
Just two
That's all
options.
we got. That's it. It's simple and cut and dried. It doesn't work. Sorry,
All right.
loser. Now, as far as the income tax was sold as a tax the rich scheme, and it wasn't necessary. So, if you can get your geek on and set up for a Google search, this is very simple and very easy to understand. And the records are out there. It's not made up from me or anything, and I'll show you what it is. So if you can do your geek stuff and bring up basic Google
Yeah.
search, AI search, or whatever, however you want to do it.
Yeah. What do we
Oh,
got?
ooh, look at that. All right. All right. So in the search box, pull up what was the revenue, excuse me, what was the total revenue of the US government in 1900? And what was the total expenses?
1900.
1900.
And what
And I'll get to you
were
why I chose that date.
the total, if I learn how to spell correctly? Thank you, public school.
It'll be
What was the
600 plus.
total? Sorry, what was the total revenue of the U.S. government in 1900, and what were their total expenses?
Correct.
All right, so it says here in 1900, the U.S. government operated at a very small scale compared to today, with a federal revenue of approximately 3.22% of GDP and total expenditure at 2.7 of GDP. Let's see, total revenue was roughly 567 million in 1900, largely driven by excise taxes on items like tobacco and alcohol, federal
Gotta love AI.
expenditures. Say again.
It's Google AI. They're trying to suppose what my point is, and they're trying to frame this with
Oh,
percentage rates. What's the dollar amount? You notice they're not giving you that until they get later. So you got to see how you're being manipulated.
okay. So should we
You asked
change
a
the
very
question?
specific question, and it's giving you fluff to frame this number. So go ahead. What was the total revenue?
567 million.
Okay. And then go, what was the expenses?
Federal expenditures were significantly lower than revenue in 1900, resulting in a budget surplus. So they don't actually give you the dollar amount.
See, you got to see how AI works.
Right.
Did I make this up?
No.
Yeah. So you have to you have to force AI to actually do work. So there's several lessons here. The number, they ran a surplus.
Okay.
1900 was the end of the Spanish American War, and they were running a surplus. Let that sink in for a moment.
Okay. Wow.
Now, go back up to Google and change the date to 1912,
Okay.
the year
Would you
before
like
the
me
income
to
tax.
specify? Would you like me to specify dollar amount?
Oh, yeah, you can add that into there. What's the exact dollar amount?
All right. I see some more numbers now. In the
Okay.
fiscal year 1912, the total revenue receipts of the United States government was approximately 321.6 million, while total expenditures were roughly 690 million.
Okay. You're not getting total revenue. Just ask total revenue
Nope.
from all sources.
Let's try this. In fiscal year 1912, the U.S. government operated with a total revenue of approximately 691.8 million and expenditures roughly 654.5 million, resulting in a budget surplus.
Okay. So even after nearly ending the Spanish American War, large expenditures, they ran a surplus, and 12 years later, they're still running a surplus. correct?
Yep. So, yep, I'm following you. We
All
had a
right, so
surplus in 1900,
I'm
and then 12
I'm just
years.
a dub guy in the hills now.
Yeah, 12
I'm
years
just a
later.
retired old fart in the hills. Let me. I just got a question. Why did we need the income tax?
Beats me. Seems like we had excess money.
So there was no fiscal reason for an income tax.
According to these numbers,
No. Okay.
yeah.
So can the American population be whipped up to constitutionally amend and create an income tax on the rich? Yes, that's exactly what they did. Okay, so ask Google up top. Okay.
Okay. What's the question you want me to type?
What was the taxable gross income in 1913 or 1914? Because that's when it actually, what was the first? Yeah.
So, what was the taxable gross income in 1914?
Should be around 3,000.
Let's see here. First full year of modern federal income tax, only 357,000 individuals filed returns, blah, 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 representing less than 0.25% of population. That tax was aimed at high earners with an exemption of 3,000 for single individuals, $4,000 for married, and a 1% normal tax rate on net incomes up to 20,000.
Okay. So $3,000. If you made more than $3,000 to 4,000, depending on your situation, you were going to start paying on income tax.
Okay.
Okay. Huh. Now, ask Google there. What was the median salary in 1913?
13 or 14?
13. Because everything's based on 13.
Oh, yeah, that's right. In 1913 in the U.S.
Yeah.
In 1913, the average annual income in the U.S. was approximately $750. While a specific national median figure is less common in historical data, the average worker earned roughly $200 to $400 per year in certain sectors, while professional roles like accountants earned closer to $2,000 yearly. Average
All
hourly
right. So
earnings in
did this?
manufacturing were roughly 22 cents an hour. Okay.
Yeah. So this was a tax the rich scam
Okay.
to solve a fiscal problem that did not exist. Am I wrong? What this was about was just the imposition of socialism. Worse, it was the American people were hoodwinked. Okay, we were going to tax the rich, the ultra wealthy, and it became a tax scheme to tax anybody they wanted to. So this is the problem with this tax. This is the problem with society in general. They don't understand how a government, whether it's city, county, state, federal, national, it doesn't matter, how one can get fleeced, how get robbed. It's a bait and switch, you know? And so here
Yeah.
we are a little over 100 years later, and we're trying to fix the income tax when the income tax never fixed anything. Okay. So the median salary shows you at that time in the United States of America, this supposed tax on the rich, it was never impacting the everyday person, had no intention of impacting the everyday person. So taxing the rich didn't apply to most people. So it wasn't
Okay.
affecting the person, the average, American on the street. So they're like, oh, you're going to tax the rich? Okay. But when you read the 16th Amendment, it doesn't say whose salary. Congress sets
Right.
a law and they can set it every quarter, every year, every 5 years, every 10 years. There's no limit. There's no limit of how much of your income they can tax.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
And so, the people were hoodwinked and it was a bait and switch. Oh, we're going to tax the rich. And then it came down to taxing just about anybody who could breathe. Okay. And then there's also technical legal things about who they actually can tax and where does the money got to come from, and that's a whole nother you can get buried for hours, days, and weeks on that. Okay, but just
Right.
on its face, there was no fiscal reason for an income tax. As I showed you,
So
even when they were running the Spanish American War, they ran a surplus.
so I'm just this average Joe. It's 1912. I'm running my farm or my small business, making my money. United States doing pretty decent. Next year, I catch wind. We need to tax. We need to institute a tax, but it's only going to be for the rich. So I'm safe. What was the argument per se
The
then? What
catalyst, great question, love it. The catalyst was the banking system. The Federal Reserve banking system also came into existence that year.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were going to solve the banking system that was hurting the average Joe, because the average Joe was told, put your money in the bank and we'll keep it safe for you. Trust me. Okay. When their money was robbed by the banking system and not returned, they were naturally upset and angry. There were several banking collapses post Civil War, 1890s, 1902, I think 1903. J.P. Morgan had to step in, okay, and they had to literally bail out the U.S. government. J.P. Morgan had to, and so there was a big push to settle all these things with a national banking system and a national bank, and the American government pushed it in two veins. The Democrat had their way and the Republicans had their way. So no matter who won, they were going to get their national bank. It wasn't really a choice.
Right.
Okay. Now, so financing the US government was the issue of the national banking system, and they also started raising a new revenue source. But it also did something very important. Okay, prior to 1913, the U.S. government was solely responsible for paying the U.S. government's debt. It had debts, even though it ran a surplus. Well, in the business community, we'd call a profit. Okay, in
Right.
government, it's revenue minus expenditures equals a surplus. Okay, all right, so they had debts. They sold bonds and they paid interest on those bonds from the tariff monies that were coming in part, and
Uh-oh,
then the
tariff?
internal.
That's a bad word, Dad. You got to watch your
And
mouth.
then there was internal taxes due to usage fees, paying for any government services that you had to pay for that was collected. So there was internal taxes, internal revenue, And then there was tariffs, which is external revenue. Okay. So understand, no reason to tax, no fiscal. We weren't running debts. We weren't trying to do things. We ran a war and made some money. And by the way, paid $20 million to Spain for the colonies we just conquered. A lot of people don't know that. We just didn't conquer and plant the flag. We actually paid Spain for the territory. Shh, don't let facts ruin a good story.
I feel like I
Okay,
know
so
that, but they
now
only teach you about the Louisiana Purchase. So
no, we purchased the colonies we fought for. We gave Spain not much, but I think it was 20 plus million for the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Cuba. But what we gained control of, the U.S. government gained control of, was immense. Your domino insurance during sugar industry, the whole sugar industry was dominated by the U.S. government now. Okay, and the regulations, importations, and stuff like that. So what happened was simple. They hoodwinked the American people into a national banking system and a revenue source to pay the debts that these banking systems were going to incur. It's right there. Now, look up in Google the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto.
Let's see. The 10 planks. Wow, it already spawned it up.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, the 10 points or planks from Section 2 of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels' The Communist Manifesto outline the immediate measure for the proletariat, to seize power from the bourgeois. I don't even
The
know if I'm saying
bourgeois.
that right. Bourgeois. Oh, bourgeois. Sorry.
That's where you get the phrase bougie.
Okay. Well, I speak winning world wars, so all right. So here are
look
the 10
at number
points.
4. Yeah, just
Yep.
name them out.
Yep. Here are the 10 points as outlined in the text. Abolition of property in land, heavy progressive / graduated income tax.
Bingo. The income tax. Plank number 2. Continue on.
Yep. Number 3, the abolition of inheritance rights. Number 4,
the inheritance tax, the death taxes.
Dad, I smell a pattern here. Number 4, confiscation of property of immigrants / rebels.
Okay, and so that's eminent domain. Go ahead.
Okay. Number 5, centralization of credit in state hands.
Oh, a central bank. A Federal Reserve.
Number 6, centralization of transport and communication.
Who regulates that? The FCC, Department of Transportation. Go ahead.
Number 7, expansion of state-owned factories.
Okay, and this has happened on and off especially during World War II, where the government would try to own their own manufacturing, bring their own business, but at that time, people recognized that as out and out Marxism and would have a cow. So the government heavily regulated that under the War Department emergencies. This is what the military industrial complex was all about, that Eisenhower spoke about in his farewell address. Go on.
Well, it sounds like the EPA almost. Increase of instruments of production, bringing wastelands into cultivation and improving the soil.
Yeah, and
Um,
that is the USDA. They pay farmers to farm, and they pay farmers not to farm, and they tell them how to do that, and what seeds they're going to use, and what corporations are allowed to do that, who gets the grants for all this stuff. Go on.
Number 8, equal obligation to work. Establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture.
Yep, and so these are the labor unions, labor farm unions.
Number 9, combining agriculture with manufacturing.
Yeah, and this was this is done in a regulatory way, but this happens for the state so that they can quickly swing to either an agricultural system in peacetime versus a manufacturing during wartime.
And then number 10, free education for children.
Yeah, okay. So, we used to be responsible for educating our children and said the free education is a hook. They bait that with the free education, and now the state is telling the children how to think and how to count and all that good stuff. Go back to number 1, please.
Sure. Let's bring up number 1. I'll zoom in a little bit. Yep. Abolition of property and land. All rents of
What does
land applied
Mamdani
to
want?
public purposes.
What does Mamdani want? New York City.
No one having private property.
Okay, so so this is nothing new, but we have institutionalized all 10 planks in one form or another. In 1913, we instituted 2 of them right off the bat. The income
Yeah.
tax and the revenue that comes in that services the debt on the obligations that are going to be sold using that income that we didn't need. The US government did not need. They're running a business. Now, let's understand that prior to the signing of the income tax, no U.S. citizen had a liability to the U.S. government for paying the U.S. government's debt. No American citizen, I should say.
Right.
Once a scheme was brought into place legally through the constitutional amendment to transfer the liability of debt onto the American citizen, now the U.S. citizen was on the hook for the income tax for servicing the debt of the United States government.
So I guess anyone, including myself, just watching this, they would say, "Okay, Joe, then who's the mastermind behind this? Who's orchestrating this? Like who?" At one
Groups
point,
of people.
the U.S. is running one way, and then all of a sudden, somebody says, "We're gonna make this work." Like, who are we talking about here?
Okay, so this was not an overnight thing. This happened starting with decades.
Okay,
Once people get into control, they want to protect control.
right.
As soon as you have assets, as soon as you buy a house, you put up a fence. I want to protect what I got. Government is no different. As soon as it engages in an activity that takes power, they don't release it back. You look at all the temporary emergencies that have been placed on the United States the American citizenry since the beginning of the Constitution. It's been flawed. Very few national emergencies have ever been extinguished. The one confiscating gold is probably the most famous one with Roosevelt confiscating gold. That was never rescinded. In fact, it was codified into law. And then a couple of acts came allowing silver and then gold, numismatic coins and stuff like that that we could own and purchase. And then I think that Reagan did the last one. So this is the issue for people. It takes a long time. the people who want to lord over others, I have a term for that. I call that evil. They know they're playing the long game. The conservatives who are claiming to be fighting against that, they're playing the short game. I just got to get through the next election cycle. Okay? So see if it'll pull up. Do another Google search. Okay, I lost your audio again, so just letting you know. But pull up another Google search.
Oh, that was on my end this time. Folks, bear with us. We're always learning something new, okay? So just bear with us.
We're
All right, what do you got?
getting our geek on, man.
Yep. All right, so I'm at the search.
All right. So search Obama.
Obama.
Affordable care. Victory speech. Video, let's say. Okay. And in those videos, he will say that this was a 100-year struggle to get basically nationalized health care.
Okay.
Now, was he 100 years old when he said that?
No.
So what's he talking about, a 100-year struggle? This was the idea of the progressives 100 years prior, of the communists. And he's championing the fact that I brought about the victory. They're playing the long game.
Okay, so I guess what drives in my head listening to that would be I guess I'm still really curious about who is they? Who is Obama at this point referencing about this 100-year plan? Plans have to have a creator, right? Someone to establish them or think them up. So who is he either answering to or speaking for in this sense?
Everybody who promoted Karl Marx in his book Das Kapital and his other writings explaining the need for communism and state control. That didn't happen in a singularity. There was already revolutions happening in Europe and fomenting locally in Europe. Remember, Europe was very fractionalized and monarchical. There was monarchies all over Europe. Okay. And so the top 1% were the kings and the aristocracy and the peasants. And depending on your economic system, you may have had a middle class mercantile group or not. Okay.
Sure.
So the 1840s, where Karl Marx wrote his Das Kapital, was really commenting on what he saw at that time. Okay. Which was a result of about 30 years of mercantilism in England, their global trade network that profited just a certain class of people because they had a class system, and it didn't help bring the poor people up. Okay, yeah, that's what England did because they had colonies around the world, and the focus of the colony was to provide resources to the mother country. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's what it is. Any country that has a colony, that's what they do. Right or wrong, that's what they do. And so if you're not in the connected class of people that are benefiting from that, then you're the labor force, you're the peasant. You know? So it's easy to foment anger at the 1% if you're a member of the 90%. Okay? So this is not a new struggle. Okay? There were some inequalities, absolutely. There's inequalities everywhere, even in the communist states. Don't tell nobody. Okay. So it's understanding that just like when you ask questions about different prophets and stuff in the Bible, you got to understand who was writing what at what time in response to what questions or issues.
Right.
Okay. Charles Dickens at the time, Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times and the worst of times. Okay. So the answers are right in front of us. And none of this I've made up. You searched it. There's the facts.
Sure.
The elites were sending their kids to, a lot of them were sending their kids to Europe in the post-Civil War era, to the elite schools. And they were picking up this garbage and bringing it home. And they're also bringing up how the efficiency of the administrative state. Well, that was under Roman law, civil law. We were common law with no sovereign. We were the sovereigns. So therein lies the conflict. And people, once they assume a certain power in government, want to keep that and make it stronger. And so they, hey, vote for me, vote for this so I can get this. I'll vote for your, if you vote for this. And some of it is directly out and out BS. Others are very surreptitious. It's sneaky and underhanded. They're passing stuff that you really don't know. It sounds like it's a good idea, and all of a sudden they're raking you over the coals. Okay. So the American people were suckered. They were hoodwinked. They were lied to. And for homework, you can look up, I forget the guy's name, but the Obamacare was passed. And one of his writers of the Obamacare law admitted openly, recorded, and said, yeah, we couldn't be transparent on how we were going to pass this and the numbers. Otherwise, the American people wouldn't have voted for it. So they lied. Well, yeah, this is what they do. People who want to lord over you are evil, and they lie. Okay? So
that's not nice.
that's not nice. So the thing is, a person who believes in personal liberty has to be right every time. The communists, the socialists, the progressive, even in conservatives, because they love a strong banking and military system, conservatives, they're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. They need a lot of this stuff to maintain their power. Okay. When those things happen, when those people get into power, they will do what it takes to hold it, maintain it, and get reelected and grow that power. So we lost. And so my growing up over the years, from the mid 70s and beyond, starting to understand what's going on, hearing the adults talk on the kitchen table, stuff like that, I noticed that no matter what the conservatives or libertarians pushed up, that section of the debate always had to give in something to get the bill passed. Never
Like
the other side.
Like our conversation about the filibuster rule. Like
right.
that's why for me I can't stand it, because it's like we vote. I feel like the filibuster in itself is done by the people, because the Congress and the Senate, although similar, have different jobs. They're designed to be doing specific things. And if the population, which would drive me nuts, but it happens, if you voted for a president with an R next to his name, and then you vote for the House that has an majority R next to their name, but you said the Senate is going to be majority D over their name, at least that was the people's choice on the jobs there. But the filibuster seems to just do exactly how you defined it, which is, well, we have to give up something. And then it's usually labeled as, what do they call it? Pork fillers or something in there. That it's supposed to be a spending bill, but then they shovel in all sorts
Yeah.
of nonsense that makes it 1,000+ pages long, and you only get, what is it, 48 hours per the rule to review it. Like
Right.
it's nuts. So well, that's a question I'll get into
Well,
another
hang
day. But
on. We're not done with that. We're not done with that. We're not done with that.
Okay, all right, shoot, we're still
Okay,
going.
because this is going to dovetail with the previous conversation. You ready?
All right,
Okay, put your
bring it
cup
on.
down. I don't want you spilling hot coffee on you, and then you get mad at me.
All right, I'm hanging on, Dad.
Okay, you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Up till what year did the states elect their senators?
Up until what year did the states elect their senators? I'm not following the
In
question.
constitutional law, up to a certain year, each state inside the state
Mhm.
selected the two senators that went to Congress, because we are a union of states and the states are legal entities that were representing. They created the federal government. The states did.
Okay.
Okay. And so each state sent two electors to make sure that the federal government heard from from the state's representatives. The state, the legislature of each state sent two senators.
So let's simplify this. You're saying the state legislator, our in-state representatives
No.
pick the two. Or is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Or
yes,
I'm losing it.
yes. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Okay.
Okay.
So you live in Florida. The legislature of Florida, people put their names in the hat, and they would pick two people to go to Washington to represent the state of Florida, because we are a union of states, and each state was going to be represented in the federal government.
Okay. So before this year that you're about to say, I, as a citizen of the state of Florida, right? I live in Florida, right? I voted for my representative
Correct.
I voted for my rep. We have districts. I live in this district. I vote for my rep. Boom. Now, you're saying at that point, the populace didn't vote for their Senate. The state legislators, those representatives, decided you're going. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say you and I were in the state legislature of Florida in 1890. And the 1890 election comes up, and we got to vote for a new senator. We got to send a new senator to Washington. One of the senators is up for reelection. We either going to pass a law saying John Smith is, maintains the Senate, or we
Sure.
get it. And now he's doing poorly. He's not representing our state right. He's doing this wrong, this wrong. We're going to vote for Bill Jones as our new senator to go to Congress. Okay, the legislature did that. Some people put in their hat in the ring and said, "Hey, I want to," and they had different ways of doing that. Typically, during the parties had their smoky-filled rooms, and they threw out their champion to go against this other champion. We have a party platforms that we're going to go to Washington and promote. So if the legislature was conservative Republican, that's who most likely they sent to the Senate.
Right.
Somebody
Okay.
promoted those ideas, but they represented the legislature of that state. When did
Right.
that all end?
Is it relating to the years that we talked about?
1913, baby.
Because let me guess, there are Senate duties that revolve around that the monetary stuff, correct? Is that why? Is there a correlation to that? Or like
Sure,
what
sure.
about
So,
1913 was the case?
well, understand that there was always been a lot of complaining about that. The framers didn't have it right. The framers were brilliant in this. We are a union of states. We were 13 independent countries, and each independent country sent a representative to the federal government to make sure that their state was heard in the federal government. That's how they ensured that. I send a senator, two senators to Washington. I got to wait 2, 4, 6 years before I can change that in the legislature, right? Okay. Or force a recall or whatever. It's hard to modify a senator's opinion on a certain bill. Okay. But what if he was direct elected by a political party who was captured by the banking institutions that fill in the blank?
To lobbying.
Ta-da!
So, just for clarification, just so that I'm up to speed, I want to understand and distinguish between what you mean, because we elect our representatives, but you keep saying we elect a senator to ensure federal representation. What's to distinguish between the two in the verbiage that you're
Okay.
using? Because I want
Prior
to
to
clarify that.
1913, prior to 1913, the American citizen did not directly vote for a senator.
Correct.
He was not on the
Okay.
ballot. After that,
All right.
the senator was.
Right, but the distinguish in the word representation that you're using. So we
Okay,
have
so now
U.S. representatives.
the senator does not represent the state.
Okay.
He's from that state, but doesn't represent the interests of that state. He represents the interests of the political party that sent him or her to the Senate. So let's say Florida is looking to make a trans-state railroad, and we're going to get with Georgia, and we're going to get this, but we need Congress permission because it's cross state lines, and we're doing all this stuff, and we got a shipping port that we want to institute for tax and customs. We want to do all these things to help Florida. Prior to 1913, the legislature made sure they sent representatives that say, hey, make sure you vote on these types of projects that helps us, Florida.
That was
Post
that
19.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Basically what I'm trying to say is so the senators, so we have the House of Representatives, right? Prior to 1913, you're saying in the example of your project, for the state of Florida, the senators prior to 1913 were sent to basically be pushing on behalf of the state of Florida. Now tie in, I guess that's where I'm getting lost, is tie in the House of Representatives in this big cycle here, because I'm
Sure.
just trying to distinguish what it's all supposed to be doing before 1913 and then after 1913.
Sure. The House of Representatives, 2 years, represent the people and their impulses at that time. The
Okay.
Senate says we're going to send a new senator every 6 years, okay, to represent the interests of the state. The state's a legal entity. It's a business.
Okay.
It's a corporation. And so that senator is getting its instructions from the legislature.
Okay.
The representatives are getting the earful from the local population. Hey, I don't want you taxing this or doing that. That people mail in and send letters or call when the phone wasn't was invented. They'd call their representatives and yell at them and saying, "I'm for this, I'm not for that, whatever." And so the 2 year, okay, versus the 6 year was intentional. The founding fathers' brilliance was the masses could be easily swayed in their temperature, but recognizing we're a union of states at the 6 year level, the states could say, yeah, we understand you're a little PO'd about this, people, but let's look at the bigger, broader picture for what's best for our state, our country, in other words, at the federal level. Okay?
Okay. So the Senate's more macro in that sense.
Correct.
Okay.
And could easily tamp down. That's why the filibuster is so important. It calms everything down. Let's talk about this. We'll talk for hours, days, weeks. It's a psychological tool.
Don't feel like that's what it is now, but we'll get
No,
into that
because the
shortly.
Senate is directly elected and it's directed by a party with a party plank. In this case, look at the Communist Manifesto and the Democrat Socialist plank and the Communist plank and the Progressive plank. They're all identical. It's just to what degree.
Okay. All right. I'm starting to pick up what you're putting down.
It's a little complicated for sure. But understand, in 1913, look at all the things that happened to the American people that they thought they were winning, and turned out they were getting nailed to the cross. After 1913, the American citizen became directly responsible for paying on the U.S. debt by the sweat of their brow. And they thought by directly electing a senator that they would get better representation. The Senate was captured by the people, the swamp in Washington, because of the party politics. All the political party does, every political party does this, is sell access to the government treasury. Every party, Republicans, Democrats, don't matter. They all sell access. Join our group and we'll give you access to this grift.
So, what law or rule changed that in 1913? What
that was an amendment. 16th Amendment was the income tax. 17th Amendment was the senators being elected directly. Boom, boom.
Let's see. 17th Amendment.
The summer of 1913, I think it passed.
Let's see here. Let me. All right. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for the electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislators. Let's see. Yeah, and then it kind of just goes on about vacancies and stuff like that.
Yep. So we ceased becoming a representative democracy of states and became more of a social European democracy with the direct election. And then to say thank you to the American people, they placed the burden of the U.S. government debt on every American citizen. Oh, only the super rich had to pay. Oh, it was coming. That's where they started. Remember, the 16th Amendment doesn't have any limitations to it, doesn't have a salary, doesn't have anything other than that. They have this super duper power that isn't quite explained, but it's only going to hurt the rich. It doesn't affect me.
There you go. We got the 16th Amendment. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration.
Doesn't say whose income. First of all, it doesn't even say what is income, because we don't earn an income. We earn a wage, or we earn a remuneration, or we trade for it. Okay. Income's a corporate term. Income and expenses are corporate terms. Okay. That's modeled after the corporate income tax. Okay. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But understand, nothing I've told you tonight, I made up. There it is, black and white. In the year 1913, we realized two important planks of the Communist Manifesto: the progressive income tax and the financing of government operations. Okay? With the net result that the people thinking they got a representative democracy started turning this country into a social democracy. And the kiss of all kisses, you're on the hook for the US government's debt. Can you imagine if you could go into debt all you want and place the liability of that debt on your neighbor? How much debt would you have?
And then, oh, by the way, you have a third party source giving you nothing but endless print of it.
Endless credit, because they don't send money. They don't give you money. They credit
Right.
an account. An account there ain't no money in it. So this is the system that they were swinging the American government into, because this is the English system, the Parisians said the Bank of France, the Bank of England, the Bundesbank, the Bank of Germany. This is their system. So we got punished with the European system of finance. We the people kept the US government in check to a certain degree by whether or not, okay, we allowed our money to circulate in the government system. So Franklin Roosevelt criminalized that behavior, because Americans understood that if I put my money in a bank, I'm partaking in this banking system that does that supplies credit to at least my state government, if not the federal government. There were national banks that printed their own currencies, and then there were national banks that used currencies provided by the U.S. Treasury notes until 1913, and became Federal Reserve notes. Okay, so the vast majority of people understood that in a large macro sense. Like you said, that's a great term. That's the way to look at it, in the macro sense. So when people said, the U.S. government is not doing right here, my state bank is, they first voted with their money, and they would pull their money out of the banks. How dare the peasants do that to the state or federal government? They needed guaranteed credit. And so they got it in the Federal Reserve. Now, I ask you, the federal government is now $39 trillion in debt. It's mathematically impossible to pay that off. What mind do you have to be in to say, as a banker, oh, they're a good credit risk? You have that amount of spending, over and above your income, and try to get a loan at your community bank. They'd laugh you out of the bank. they'd fall over their chairs laughing at you. What? You don't. You have too much debt to your income. We can't lend you money. U.S. government has guaranteed credit. They have guaranteed U.S. dollar treasury creation. And where's that money that pays off the debt? It doesn't exist. You and I have to sweat for it, deposit our money in the banking system, and they collect it. And they buy the bonds. If you and I got 10% of the population in each state to pull their money out of the bank on one day, the entire system would collapse and probably 40, 50 other countries would fall with it. That's what they fear.
Wonder if that's why.
That's why they're trying. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I wonder if that's why. When I used to do security at the bank, in my instruction for security, I was always informed that the bank would have limited on-hand cash. Like they didn't just have the supply. If you wanted to draw over X amount, you had to do all this processing paperwork, and then it would get ordered in if you wanted the cash on hand. But it wasn't like, oh yeah, Mr. Rivera, okay, we'll have it by tomorrow or this. No, it was like a lengthy process, and you had to fill out all these documents and swear that you weren't going to spend it on drugs or anything like that. Like,
yeah. So the bank is the spying agency on behalf of the U.S. government. Okay, because they're asking you on behalf of the U.S. government, what are you doing with the money? Okay, and when that happened to me the first time, I gave him the Merry Christmas and closed all my accounts. Okay. The other thing is that is the fractional reserve system. There's no money in the system. There's a controller of the currency just to float enough paper dollars that you need to make the local economy work. Because if it's a Wonderful Life. If you go to the bank in the movie The Wonderful Life and everybody pulls their money out, the bank collapses. And yes, because there's no money in it. Banking is not what you think it is. Okay? So the people innately understood this back in the 20s and 30s, and they had a problem. There was a big debate. Even with the Reserve Act, there was big debates on this. And you see how they passed the Reserve Act. It was right before Christmas Eve when the vast majority of senators who were opposed it went home for the Christmas holiday. And they came in the middle of the night and signed it. Out. Okay? So the U.S. government will get its credit, whether you like it or not, want it or not, and will be damn sure your labor pays the interest on it. That's not how the founding fathers set our country up. Okay? It's been captured. And then the orange guy wants to tell the swamp to pack up their marbles and go home.
Yeah, a fourth attempt just happened if you weren't aware of this.
Yeah. So nobody's allowed to bring this system down. That's why the Secret Service protects the president. The ones in charge of our currency laws?
Uh-oh.
Oops.
So, what? I know this probably sounds like a demoralizing question, but I mean, no, but seriously, it's like I'm not advocating for giving up by any means, but the sentiment when you learn about this, it's like, as far as being part of the system, it's like, what do you keep fighting if it's not going to change?
Okay,
so what's the point of
you got to respect the math?
That? Right.
to respect the math. There's no mathematical way out of this. So you have to do what the people in the know do, and that's to front run this. If I know that Shamu is going in the pool and is going to flip and slam over here, I know where the wet zone is, and I can go over there and I got splashed by Shamu. Shower me the money, Mr. Whale. Then again, if you don't want to get wet, you know where you can hightail it and climb up the seats and stay away from it. And that's what the JP Morgans and the Wells Fargos, they're part of the system, and they make sure no matter what, it benefits them. And Mr. Warsh, who just got appointed the Federal Reserve Bank Fed chair, said exactly this. It's coming. The money printing, the inflation is coming. Okay. So you do what I'm doing. I'm educating you. Now you got to start educating your little ones and the neighbor to the right and to the left of, hey, have you ever looked at this? Have you ever looked at just with questions? I just ask you questions. Ask Google. None of this I made up. Okay. That money that's in your wallet, that cash money that's in your wallet, didn't just magically appear. Somebody had to print it on somebody's order. Who ordered that? Why what's the system backing this? Okay. It's monopoly money that works because the government says so. That's called a fiat currency. By government decree, by fiat. My words, you can use this for all public debts, public and private. It says so on the note in the upper left-hand corner. Without that, it's monopoly money. Okay? So it's not demoralizing if you look at the math and say, okay, I'm not going to change this. You're not going to change this. How do I front run it and teach my others to benefit from this so that we can survive the collapse of this? Because this is not, it's going to collapse. Your lifetime, Mason's lifetime, their kids, I don't know. It happens very slowly until it happens very quickly.
Is this why? And I'm not here to talk about this to inflate conspiracies, but when it comes to Trump or even somebody like when there was large celebrations with somebody like Kirk um getting eliminated the way he did, you say it's like, okay, well, we're not going to make these changes, but in my experience, it seems like the ones who always get the most negative attention are the ones who are closest at attempting to make change. I saw this with Trump in a sense, and I saw this with Kirk on the ground level. Kirk on the ground level was doing a few things, probably counterintuitive to the Communist Manifesto in a sense that he wanted more open dialogue, more open education, more uh more common sense, more logic being introduced like you do. You walk, dad, you're walking through the steps. Let's figure this out. Let's step in this right direction. And then he was expansive about it. So I'm not inflating conspiracy about why he was brutally murdered the way he did, but as far as the reactions to why he was somebody that was making he was making at least some progress in awakening some people to certain things, whatever, if it was religious or economical or something like that. But I say all this because I'm starting to witness um, when people do make the attempt and they start getting successful at it, it's awfully coincidental that the worst of things start happening either to them or around them. I mean, JFK sounds like a similar story, you know?
Great observation. I got two questions. What happened to John the Baptist?
Oh, yeah. He said,
Okay.
"Oh, King Herod, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong and wicked."
You and your wife.
Hmm.
Okay, right? He pointed out the evil
Yep.
and confronted him face to face. Okay. It does not matter whether it's directly or in a softer tone like a Charlie Kirk giving his political enemy the microphone. Ask me whatever you want. Help me make sense of this. Okay? People who awaken others to the grift, the graft, the corruption, to the evilness of this become the enemy.
Yeah.
Jesus was a nut job rabbi until he came to the temple and knocked over the money changers. He challenged the fiscal financial system of the temple. Now he had to be eliminated.
Yeah. Funny
Okay.
you say that because I've been covering this story and Chantel and I are reading, we're starting the beginning of the gospel, we're reading it together and we're reading through this stuff and I'm glad you make that point because there's so much emphasis on the blasphemy of the things he was saying, but the switch never flipped until the money was messed with. That's the only thing that Pharisees and the Sadducees cared more about than the verbal blasphemy to them that he was spewing, which was he disrupted the flow of commerce within the temple.
Correct. Okay. And John the Baptist is one of those guys who says, "Hey, we got to think about this. We got to think about what we're doing. Hey, time to repent." Okay, so the Charlie Kirks of the world, the Jordan Petersons of the world, were telling men, "No, you're not the problem." The feminization of America the last 40 plus years, 50 years, has done a lot of damage to the culture. You're not at fault. Being a man is okay so long as you be a man and follow some basic rules. Don't hurt people, don't hurt people's property, and raise your kids to love the Lord or whatever you're preaching. If you're worshiping dandelions, God bless you, knock yourself out, and be nice, okay, to one another. Follow the golden rule. Okay, this was, to think that was racist, fascist, patriarchy, and all this stuff always had to be labeled something so you can accuse the straw man of something and then attack it, or worse, attack the person directly. Okay, this is
Right.
nothing new. The Soviet Union, Chairman Mao, the Robespierre in France. This is old hat. It's just the names have been changed. The system is the same, and so good people need to stand up. And so the best place to do it is in your family unit. First of all, stand up in your home, stand up in your community. And like you and Chantel have done, you stood out and you went to your community leaders and said, "Hey, what you're doing in school is all wrong here. We got to fix something." So if you fixed the foundation, you go a long way to help. Okay. On the financial side, this is way too big for you and me. We can front run it. So now we know where Warsh is thinking. We know where bonds are going to go. We're going to know asset prices are going to go. We've seen this before. It's post World War II, fiscal repression. There is a playbook. They're not inventing anything new. Scott Besson has been waiting for Wash. He found out he wasn't going to get it from Powell. Okay. And so out Powell, in Wash, now Scott Besson has somebody to work with to oil the system. The problem is the system is not getting corrected. It's getting relieved. They're not going to change the system. They're going to relieve the pressure on the system. So I once heard of it. We're technicians. So think of a battery, 12-volt battery. Your car battery is 12 volts. It has maybe 500 cranking amps. Okay.
Right.
Over time, it starts to wear, right? Especially in Florida.
Sure.
It still goes out 12 volts, but the cranking amps start to diminish the pressure. Okay. So money works that way as well. Okay. The pressure for treasury bonds or treasuries, they're that oil that's going around the engine. Okay. Going to all the commercial banks. Okay. We don't go to a bank and deposit a treasury bond. We have a greenback. And when I go to cash a check, I pull greenbacks out. That's the currency of the peasantry. And then the banking system has these assets here, okay, circulating amongst the banking system so that the banking system stays balanced. Okay. And so we're working on two different levels, two different playing fields, and the vast majority of people don't understand that. They don't get that. They don't know it. They weren't taught it. People knew it 100 some years ago. Today, I don't know. I hit this card and I get money, or I can buy food and or whatever. And so there's no concept of where this stuff comes from. So they're easily hoodwinked. They're easily suckered into believing that, well, this is the good thing. All right. So we'll have future talks. Not that we're tax advisors or financial advisors or anything like that, but you and your brothers are going to be hearing from me come mid-May, because this guy, if he pulls the trigger, he's telling the world already at his confirmation where he wants to go. Now we got to see if he actually follows through. I'm about 98% certain he will, but I want to see this action. So don't be depressed about it. Understand it. Understand what your battle is. Your own, okay? Your own sanity, your own understanding of the world. Chantel, you and your bride, again, don't trust me, test me, see where I'm wrong. You pulled up the stats, okay? You pulled up the dates. I didn't make this up, okay?
Right.
I noticed this too. Matter of fact, I woke up about 2 a.m. having a holy cow moment, scared the crap out of your mom when the light bulbs went off. Literally 2 a.m. Oh, I get it. I'm a mechanic. I'm a technician. This connects to that, and that turns that gear, and that gear flips that switch, and that switch supplies power to the. And it's cool when you get it. But it's also disturbing, And so you go watch The Matrix again. Watch how Neo goes through all this disconnect. What's real, what's not real, the red pill, the blue pill, what is this, a whole new reality. And once he gets it, then he knows how to walk in amongst the system.
Right.
Okay. Now, there are times when it gets worse to the point where people in large masses change the system by force. The English peasant revolt. There's been several peasant revolts around Europe and stuff like that. The Civil War here in the United States. So there's been times when people said enough's enough as a group, as an entity amongst themselves. But while the American people still naively believe the political system is going to fix it, in my opinion, it's naive. It's ignorant. It's not going to happen. They're not going to pack up their marbles and go home. Okay. I don't know if you can find it or not, but I remember during the banking crisis of 2007 and '08, Hank Paulson, the Secretary of Treasury, was standing with the president. The president went to the podium and said something to the effect that if we don't fix this now, I think it was like on a Friday or something, Monday, the banking system is going to collapse. Okay. That wasn't a technical statement. What he should have said to explain it really was, "Hey, American people, if you don't allow me to screw you over, this guy over here is going to tell the banks to screw you over directly." Okay?
Right.
It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all funny, what's The Big Short, Fugazi's, all these concepts and stuff like that. Big Short's a great movie that explains some of this. Um, but yeah, this is not something that you and I are going to change individually, but we can educate, we can understand, we can front run and help our world. As I've always taught you, don't change the world, change your world. When enough people are changing their world, big things happen in society, But
Right.
how are these people gaining? Because evil knows no bounds. They don't know when to stop. So I guarantee you, they're going to double down, triple down, and go for more, to go for broke. Because the last thing you want to do is be a threat to evil people. And even a perceived threat is a threat.
Yeah.
And we don't need you know to dive into how many examples of that. What do you see in when you visit people's homes? You travel around town. You're in the economy working in that sector, in suburbia, in the middle class sections, and what do you see happening to these people? I would submit that one of the most common feelings or sentiments you probably hear from people is the uncertainty.
I would say some people, some is uncertainty. You get the feeling, you have small talk with them. I might see what they're watching on TV. A lot of times they might actually would have the news on or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, some, I think majority, to kind of go with the Matrix example, they took the blue pill. That's like they woke up today, they're happy, and I'm of course, let me start off by saying this. I'm happy everyone gets to wake up in the morning. But they woke up in the morning, they're happy, they're kind of just tame about the day. They go do their thing, and at least perception wise, they're doing their routine. Hey, I got to do this, I got to do that, and that's life. So I see it. I think I see both. I just think it leans heavily on the blue pill, and I don't accuse them for taking it, or because I don't even think most people are even aware. If you're not put into a situation to kind of glitch the matrix for you, to make you question and say, well, wait a sec, hold on, what? It's like that. Well, it's funny. I love how we're using the matrix as an analogy. Um, it's like that scene when he's walking um with Morpheus down the street, and amongst the entire crowd and the scenery, there's the woman in the red dress.
Yeah.
And it it was that, well, wait a sec. Well, it stood out. I don't know. And Now I'm gonna go watch The Matrix again. Thanks, Dad.
It happened. That's how what happened to me. I was overseas seeing things that didn't make sense. What? Coming home, reading the Newsweek and the Time magazine, thinking I'm well informed. No, I was over there. I was there. I delivered this. I delivered that. That's not what happened there. But you're saying this happened. What? Uh, what? What is this? And so you ask questions. What are you doing here? What are we doing? I thought they were the bad guys. Oh, they're the good guys now. They're still doing that evil stuff. Yeah, but they're doing it on behalf of us now, not the Soviet Union, because that was the big thing. That was always the big thing. And so, you know, you got to have the boogeyman,
Yeah, and
and
especially
you
in our
blame it on the boogeyman.
society, especially in our
Yeah,
society, we've given everyone the ability to feel like that. Um, their complaints are more than what they actually are. Especially with the internet. Now everyone can just complain and moan about something now and feel as though that their opinion on something was actually warranted. I don't know. That sounds mean, but like when I hear a lot of these conversations happen, and I know what some people say, well, Ben, well, you're in those platforms engaging, so you're doing the same thing. Well, no, w- I'm in there because I'm trying to be the person that metaphorically is smacking you upside your head to get you to go beyond your uh tabloid front cover news gathering that you do, the headline reading that you feel like that's the end all be all, to something a little more deeper than that. And I'm not the smartest guy in those rooms. I probably don't know as much as some of the people that I engage with, but still there's a baseline of common sense. And like you explain it, it's connecting the dots. If you're not connecting the dots and you're just whining and moaning about something, well, then what am I supposed to do with that?
yeah. So you're just recognizing that sometimes you're just in an echo chamber,
Yeah, yeah.
and
The echo chambers are endless. They're
yeah,
endless.
that's the dopamine hit. Now I feel good because I know my nut job neighbor to my right agrees with me. Okay. Well, okay. That's good. And again, if that's the world you want to be in, okay. It's when you cross the line and try to impose that on others. No, no, no. My feelings allow me to impose on you the idea that your 10-year-old son who wants to play with girl dolls, we got to castrate them. Okay. So, there's everybody's free to come up with opinions, and that's great. That's how we learn. But if we're not answering the questions inside that opinion, which is what I'm doing to you, I was at, hey, ask Google these questions. Look at the results. What is that
Right.
telling you? Here's what I see. You may see something different. You may choose to want to see it. Maybe you want to be like this. Maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to do that. Some people love being all three. Okay.
Right.
And we all have that freedom. I would just suggest to you as you traverse the world of the cyberspace and social media that you just look for people like Charlie. Let's have a conversation. Oh, you want to get stupid? Okay, next. Okay, you got questions? Let's ask great questions. Let's talk about it. Let's ask even more questions so we can come up with things. And that is where we need to find the common ground with those people. There are people who are invested in this. They can't
Right.
afford for it to break down the way some people want it broken down. No, 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 no. This is I'm holding on to this. I gotta have my EBT. I gotta have my cell phone paid by somebody else. I gotta have my schools paid by 12 years of college, and I'm still haven't got a job yet. And then I'm not gonna pay for the student loans, no, because it's unfair. Okay, and so all those people are vested in the system, and they're going to suffer poorly when it comes crashing around them. And this is why I'm preaching and teaching you folks, anybody, the kids at church, wherever. You got to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and front run it and have that sense. Okay, I see where this is going. And so I'm either want to be in Shamu's splash zone or I want to stay dry. Okay, you
Right.
pick. But if you take a step back, you will see where the whale is going to jump and land. If you take the step back and look at the big picture.
Right.
And that's a
Right.
choice.
Well, I'm certainly going to be doing that and looking to see if people are willing to make a choice on what their outlook is going to be. But Dad, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I
Okay.
appreciate you telling me how screwed we are, and I hope the the audience uh uh when it comes to that understanding. No, this is important. I'm glad this conversation is happening. I think we can spend days, if not weeks, talking about it just with the amount of information to go over, but we have to start
Mm-hmm.
somewhere.
Yep.
And doing those searches, I'm happy. Audience, look at the same thing. Google the
Yep.
same thing we just did. Um, if you find that you have a question on that, if you feel like no, something's off, you find something that you want to bring as to a challenge to the thought and want to say, hey, what's going on? What about this? Bring it up, and we'll be happy to address that. But Dad, do you have any lasting tidbits, thoughts, concerns before we wrap it up?
Uh, Not really. Just to ask the people who are listening to this, take a step back. Prove the questions as incorrect. We're asking the wrong questions and stuff like that. Okay, but the facts are what they are, regardless of your feelings. So, um, if you got something else, go ahead, put it in there. If you need somebody with gray hair to talk to or chat with, put it in there, and we'll you know uh, try to at least reason it and question it out. And I will most definitely learn something as well.
All righty. Yeah, guys, give a like, subscribe to the channel. Please share this with everyone you think you'll find beneficial. This beneficial to, and then those who might not care. Oh well, send it to them as well. We want to spread this type of messaging to everyone and anyone because it's important. Conversations like this need to happen. From time to
Mm,
time, I see this on the platforms, and Dad brought it up first about echo chambers. You got to learn to find out whether you are in one and do what Dad says. Take a step back and start asking the questions that need to be asked. um, Again, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. And Dad, we'll see you next time.
appreciate it. God bless. It's great. Great questions.